Hello, so let's start right away. This channel, Ironman Strong 6, is going to be about strength training advice for triathletes primarily, but not only for triathletes, for endurance athletes, strength athletes, and so on. So that you know, I'm not an internet troll. Some basic information about me. I'm 45 years old, Czech. I've been living in Poland, happily married with two beautiful kids. And my lifelong passion is sports, mainly strength training, and last 4 years, Ironman training for triathlon and for various Ironman events. Why I decided to start this YouTube channel? As I said, I've been involved in strength training for past 30 years, and roughly from 25 to 40 years old, I trained heavily for competitive powerlifting. It has always been my passion, all kinds of strength sports. And when I was about, I think, 40, 41, I wanted a change. I felt I was stagnant and I had to make a decision really because I had an offer to compete in the Masters division on the European championship level for powerlifting. But I felt I wanted to get back some of the athleticism that I had when I was 20, 25. I wanted to reduce my body weight a little bit. I wanted to have better endurance than what you have typically when you do strength sports competitively. So I was looking what and how I should change my training. And as usual, lots of things in our lives are by luck or by accident. I discovered Alex Viada on internet. Alex Viada is what you would call a hybrid athlete. He's a very strong and jacked dude. I think he still competes or used to compete in high level powerlifting, and at the same time he competes on a very high level of Ironman events. So he basically proved that it can be done. You can be both very strong and very fit and have perfect endurance. So I was very happy, and it was typical. It was perfect. It clicked immediately. It was a perfect solution for me, Ironman training, because I like a lot of training, big volumes, and this offered me big volume, high intensity training. Say for, as I said, I'm 45 for next 15, 20 years with a lot of fun, and it still allows me to keep strength training as the fourth discipline, as I like to call it, because in triathlon events, when you train for Ironman, you have swim, bike, run, and for me it's discipline number four, strength training, because I think it's really really important. Yeah. And so I started training for Ironman events, typical triathlon type of training, about 4 years ago. And the reason why I decided to start a YouTube channel, I already have a blog about strength training for endurance athletes. Is I was really shocked how little knowledge and how minimum focus there is for strength training during triathlon training. Because I typically when I start doing something, I'm very consumed by it. I don't know if it's good or bad, but this is how I work. So when I started training for triathlon, and I read everything I could, online articles and specialized magazines, and I reached out to people who are very successful. I did some online consultations, and I was very lucky because I discovered my old university buddy has been doing Ironman training for past 15 years on a very high amateur level, so he was able to help me. But I discovered one thing. When you look at a typical advice for a triathlon training cycle, let's say it's 16 weeks preparation cycle for Olympic triathlon or for 7.3 triathlon or for any endurance event, it's very, very structured, described in detail. You have threshold runs and tempo bikes and FTP bike trainings and interval runs and endurance runs and drill swimming. It's very technical, with lots of knowledge, lots of thought and expertise put into it. And then you look at the program for the strength session, and it usually says like on a do some core work twice a week, or do some core work and stretching, or do some um, light dumbbell lunges and some planks. And that's usually it. And I was really surprised, I was really surprised having the expertise and experience in strength training, and I'm very passionate about physiology and biomechanics and so on. And I immediately knew this is a big problem. And then when I started following lots of professional triathletes on Strava or on Facebook or anywhere, on Instagram, I discovered that the level of knowledge and practical experience with strength training, it's horrific, it's terrible. You would look at lots of triathletes, for example, when they do some strength training over winter, and as the triathlon race season picks up, they stop doing any strength training. And then they are surprised that deep in the race season, say in August or September, they get injured. But to me, it's so obvious, because if you stop doing strength training, unfortunately, strength training is not like endurance fitness. Endurance fitness, if you do nothing for 1 month, you come back to it, it's pretty much a few training sessions and you will get 80-90% of it back. Unfortunately, strength training is not like this. 10 to 14 days, you already start losing strength. So the loss is happens very fast, and it's very significant, and it takes much longer to regain your strength. And now the main point, why I think strength training is absolutely crucial. And I will make the bold statement right here that in the coming years, we will see, in my opinion, a drop in total volume on swim, bike, run, and increase volume, intensity, and frequency on strength training. Because typically, when non-training people or when endurance people look at strength training, they see usually one or two components of strength training, but it's much more to it than just strength. They want stronger muscle and they want stronger tendons. But there is much more to strength training than only this. If we look what strength training gives us, it's several things. It's absolute strength, yeah. It improves our one repetition maximum. It's relative strength, yeah. If you squat five triples with 100 kilos today, 220 pounds, and in 2 years' time you increase it by 15 kilos, 35 pounds, you became stronger. Yeah? So you don't have to train for one repetition maximum as an Olympic weightlifter or as a powerlifter to improve your strength. So it gives us absolute strength, relative strength. It gives you strength endurance. For example, for your bike training during the Ironman event, if you are stronger, you can hold bigger watts for longer. Number four is muscle integrity. Muscle integrity means that your muscles and strong tendons keep your joints in the ideal biomechanical position for the whole event. Yeah, you might you might see at some endurance events, let's say it's the Ironman, that in the third part of the run, lots of the athletes, they don't lift their knees enough, or their rib cage starts to collapse. They don't have dynamic swing with their hands, with their arms. And this is not a run issue. Yeah, this is a strength issue. And I was surprised how many athletes, when they lose to someone, during the run, during Ironman, and after the run, after the race is over, they start analyzing, what did I do wrong? Is it the running programming, or I should do more volume, or I should do more speed runs? And it has nothing to do with the run. It's all it's all related to strength. If your upper back muscles are not strong enough and they don't have the strength endurance, your rib cage will collapse when you are tired. If your hip flexors are not strong enough, you will not be able to lift your knees so high. If your butt is not strong enough and is not firing properly, which is very often the case, you will not be able to keep the cadence, and your leg extension will not be optimal. Yeah. So this is muscular integrity. Number five, neuromuscular coordination. Yeah. This is how the muscles work together, and this is absolutely crucial for injury prevention. Yeah. This was my second shock when I started learning and reading all kinds of books, magazines, and online articles about Ironman training, how people treat injuries. Like, like I was shocked that, like, I don't know, 95% it's all wrong diagnosis, because usually where it hurts, the cause of the problem is not there, it's the symptom. Yeah. And I discovered there are hundreds, I don't know, tens of thousands of triathletes with shin splints. Shin splints is when you do a high volume of intensive running, uh, your shins start to ache like really bad. I also had it like 3 years ago. And it's so bad that it hurts during runs, and it hurts during night. So you wake up several times during the night, and it really doesn't go away. And I was surprised how people treat it. You know, they do all kinds of rolling with the roller, and all kinds of stretching and massaging with the lacrosse ball, and all kinds of things. But this is the symptom, it's not the cause. When I had the shin splints 3 years ago, when I picked up the running volume a lot, a little bit too fast, and it should be more gradual, I immediately knew what I should do, and it went away in 3 weeks. If you have shin splints, the problem is in your butt. Your glutes are not strong enough, because your glutes, they have two functions. They pull the leg backwards in the leg extension movement, and they are responsible for outward rotation of your femur. If they are not strong enough, your leg goes into internal rotation. The pelvis is not stabilized properly, and the stabilization function, which should be done by a very strong glute muscle, something else has to stabilize the lower leg, and it's usually the very thin muscle on the front part of your lower leg, the tibialis anterior. And this muscle gets overworked, and it gets tense and irritated, because it does now work that it's not supposed to do. It helps to stabilize the leg, because the glutes are not doing their work 100%. So the solution, if you have shin splints, yes, if you use the roller, or if you massage your shins, it will help for a day or two, maybe a week, but the problem doesn't go away. It will come back. Yeah. And I read all kinds of horrific articles like, yeah, if you have shin splints, you have to take 6 weeks off, or you have to do only mild endurance runs. If you're middle of your race season and you take 6 weeks off, how the hell are you going to get well for the race season? The solution to shin splints is strength training. Usually, the strength training is pretty much an answer to all kinds of imbalances and weak supporting muscles. So strengthen your glutes, both the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius. The gluteus medius is very important because it helps stabilizing the pelvis. Strengthen your glutes. Don't massage or roll your shin splints, and watch in 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks. The shin splints will go away. I can promise you that. Yeah. So this is very important: neuromuscular coordination and supporting muscles. Number six, muscle fiber activation. The stronger muscles you have, the bigger number of muscle fibers they can recruit. For example, you might see on many, I don't know, weightlifting or powerlifting competitions, if you take two guys, one trains for 1 year and one trains for 20 years. They might both be in the 80 kilo weight class, 80 kilo, 185 pounds. One of them squats, I don't know, 200 kilos, 450 pounds. One of them squats 300 kilos, 660 pounds. And because they are in the same weight class, if you look at their legs, they might have the same size. The reason the second guy is so much stronger is two. He is able to recruit much bigger percentage, much higher percentage of the muscle fibers in his legs, and he has much better CNS adaptation, CNS central nervous system. Yeah. So even though they weigh the same, they are in the same weight class, they have the same leg size. The second guy is much stronger because he can recruit a lot more muscle fibers than the beginner. So this is number six reason why we should do strength training. And number seven is bone density. The research has proved many times now over and over that strength training gives you stronger tendons and more dense bones. Yeah. There was a myth when I was a little boy that if you do strength training, you might break your back, or you might break your leg, or you might break your arm. Nothing further from the truth. If you do a scan of femur, let's say femur bones of a 40-year-old guy who doesn't do any training, and 40-year-old guy who does regular strength training, who's been doing regular strength training for 20 years, the difference in bone density will be very big and very significant. Yeah. So these would be the seven main reasons why you should do strength training. I will try to do let's say one video every week. Yeah, I don't want to promise something that I won't be able to keep. A disclaimer: this is not a business. I do it. I have a very successful consultancy business, and this is purely my passion because I helped already quite a few endurance athletes and triathletes with their problems with injury prevention, chronic injuries, strength training, and stuff. And I realize there are lots of people out there who have lots of issues, and because they don't have the proper knowledge or experience with strength training, their endurance training and Ironman training suffers because of that. For example, my buddy, as I mentioned, who helps me with the triathlete programming, he had so horrible low back issues that during long bike rides, he had to stop in the second half of the bike ride because he had a horrible low back pain, and he had to stop and not do anything, and he had to sit for 20 minutes because before he was able to hop on the bike again and keep riding, and the typical general knowledge would be, rest, or I don't know, stretch your lower back. But the lower back, weak lower back, and probably this will be a separate video in sometime in the future. Lower back means that your glutes are weak and not firing properly. Yeah. And I will also talk a lot during my videos about kinetic chains, explaining that the whole body is a one huge kinetic chain. Everything is chained together. If there is a weak link of a tense and weak muscle somewhere, some other muscles have to compensate, then you create all kinds of problems. And I will try to illustrate lots of examples where, as I said before, where it hurts, usually the problem is somewhere else. Yeah. And I would like to keep it practical, tailor-made for strength athletes, endurance athlete, and triathlon athletes. I will discuss strength programming, strength issues, selection of exercises, how you should structure your program, off season, in season, injury prevention. If you are injured, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. If you find this interesting, Please leave your comments, and I will do my best to answer some of them. I will say right from the beginning, I will not be able to answer all of them. As I said, this is not a business. This is a pure passion and hobby. I have a consultancy company, and I'm a quite busy guy, but I love this. I like helping people. If there are some topics and issues you might be interested in, let me know, and I will put this in the future videos. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.